Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Right Trader YouTube channel. And today, a lot of people are very confused because Bitcoin dropped in just 2 daily candles over 10%. That's right. If we look at the move since we started losing support at $74,000, we now have started to flush and dump lower. And in just 2 days, we dropped over 10%, guys. This is a pretty ugly drop. It's certainly a correction. Some people might even call it a crash. The thing is, this was still somewhat expected. And we have a pretty clear target area. That's going to be $63,000. Now, why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, we were actually uptrending since we double bottomed here at $63,000 on Bitcoin, and we were moving up nicely within an uptrending channel. Okay, let me go ahead and change the color here. We're going to make these bars magenta color, and you can see that we were actually in an upward trajectory with uptrending channels pushing the price higher. Okay, now initially we had a pretty strong bounce, and then we pulled back. We started creating a new uptrend. However, what happened is once we reached out at our initial target at $82,700, we started seeing a lot of resistance, and we very quickly started to move lower. We moved below $78,000, and shortly thereafter, we lost support of our uptrend. And remember, guys, this uptrend was carrying us higher since the lows over here. So once we lost that uptrend, we started a downtrend. And that's going to be this yellow line right here. Now, that was still not that much of an area of concern because we had a lot of support at $74,000. And I warned everybody, this is why you should follow me on Twitter or on Telegram, links down in the description below. But I warned everybody that if we lost support at $74,000, that we were going to go a lot lower. And why is that? Because $74,000 basically acted as a trap door where if we lost that support, there was no support until $63,000. Now, what makes this a bit worse, guys, is this downtrend, okay, combined with our horizontal support at $63,000, which, like I said, is ultimately going to be our target here. So I think we're going lower. That forms a descending triangle. If you've watched some of my live streams, we trade that all the time, guys. It's one of the highest probability patterns. I'd say it typically has, especially on a bigger asset like this, that like Bitcoin, about an 80 to 90% completion rate. And what I mean by that is we typically go to the end of the descending triangle before we then move higher or lower, okay? Now, the thing is, I just told you guys that from that $74,000 area, we already dropped to 10% in 2 candles. I think we're going lower, guys, because the actual target is about a 15% drop from that 74K level. So we could drop around another 4-5% here. And short term, yes, we might have a relief bounce that brings us up and retests our downtrend line. But guess what? We're going to slowly snake down or quickly snake down, depending on how things go, because we've been seeing a lot of weakness on this correction. We could very quickly move down to $63,000. So what I'm trying to say here is whether we get a short-term bounce, right, all the way back up to the downtrend line, that could be over a 5% bounce. Ultimately, I think we're going to have to reach the end of that descending triangle at $63,000. Now, the important thing is the pattern has to play out at this point. So there's not much you can do in terms of hoping that we're going to get a bounce immediately or that we're going to easily get back above $74,000. Because when we were trading in this range between $74,000 and $63,000, we were range bound, guys. And that could continue thereafter, okay, after we break out of this descending triangle. What we really don't want to see here, and we are prepared for those of you who are in the Right Trader VIP, link down below to our Telegram group. I've been in a Bitcoin long, and we strategically mapped out multiple buy levels, okay? We're already 50% accumulated. So we bought at 71K, we bought at 64K, and if we go lower, you see I have two other buys ready, 55,000 and 48,000, okay? It remains to be seen if we're going to go that low, but if we complete the pattern and we actually end up falling lower, guys, I hate to break it to all of you, but that could very, very well mean, unless we get a sharp bounce at that $60,000 level, which I don't think is going to happen here, if we lose 63K, because I still think there's a chance that we actually move higher and then consolidate for a while. But if we lose that $63,000 support level, which is really what I'm trying to warn you all about, and we're going to talk about why this is happening as well, because there is a reason behind all of this. It's not just that people, forgot crypto or Michael Saylor is dumping his Bitcoin. You might have heard that. Yes, these are things that in the short term affect that volatility and might cause Bitcoin to be weaker and cryptos to be weaker. But there's a bigger macro reason for this. So if we go down to, some of these lower levels here, we're talking about another 17 or even almost a 30% drop from where we're at now, okay? That might seem like a lot. However, I want to bring you guys back to the actual high at $125,000, okay? When we hit that level, we dropped 52%. Us dropping another 17% from where we are now would mean a 55% drop from the highs. And if we go even a little bit lower than that, down to our last buy level, which would be what I'm expecting to be the lowest that Bitcoin could go, that would be a 61% drop. If you watched my last video, guys, I talked about the fact that Bitcoin is still in a bear market, and it's not just Bitcoin. In fact, Bitcoin has been acting a lot stronger than other coins like ETH or smaller altcoins. But we are in a 4-year crypto cycle, and unfortunately, we have now moved into the bearish part of the 4-year cycles. Now, the good news is we've already completed a lot of this drop, so there's not that much more downside to go, but a lot of people are getting caught in longs, and I think we're going to get a bounce during this bear market to $100,000. But the key thing, guys, is that for us to see that, we might have to drop lower first. If we look at my picture here, I mapped out all of the previous bullish and bearish cycles. And I want you guys to pay attention to those drops, okay? First one was an 82% drop. Second one was an 82% drop. The third one was a 75% drop. And the pattern that we're seeing here, guys, is that both the bullish cycles and the bearish cycles are getting less extreme in terms of the price percentage moves. However, what's important to remember is that we are still a ways off from those levels that we saw historically, okay? Right now, our peak bottom is only 52%. So it would make sense that we would go possibly lower and get somewhere around a 60, 65, maybe even 70% drop. That is still possible. Historically speaking, that's more in line with what we've seen. So that is why I think Bitcoin could fall lower. I wouldn't panic before we see what happens at $63,000. Is that could be a bounce area, like I said, where we actually start consolidating back in this range, which would be one of the better outcomes right now. But I just want you guys to be aware of what's happening with the macro and, what is happening here in terms of this sharp drop. This is just a typical descending triangle pattern where typically the price drop actually accelerates once traders are starting to figure out, hey, we're going to reach the end of this pattern, okay? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the Right Trader YouTube channel, check out our links down below to Telegram and X so you can stay updated with everything we have going on. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all very soon.